5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes.
All right, down the hatch. Oh, that, yeah, not a raspberry. What makes this a special camera? Well, firstly and most important, it is 18 years old, which means it's the legal age of consent. Thanks for watching. Okay, there we go again. One thing I really want to note about this is how incredibly slow shooting Rise. Not only that, is the shutter button so incredibly touchy that this is the third time that I've accidentally pressed it and I've had to wait minutes in order to recompose my shot. I don't say that to throw a pity party or complain about this camera because it comes from a very different time. Dial-up was fast, and in the time it took you to download a TIFF or a JPEG from the internet, you can vacuum your entire floor, and that was just the speed things moved back in 2003. This is a nearly 2-decade-old 8-megapixel bridge camera, and none of those things should really excite you. If it does, you're in a very niche, weird group of people. I guess I am too. But it's what's inside that matters, because Sony put a very different sensor in this than we are used to. A normal Bayer sensor has an RGB color spectrum, and this uses 4 colors, the 4th being emerald. Okay, so this is just an unpopular opinion and a little bit off topic, but I really cannot stand when people graffiti on rocks or in nature. Like, I hardly like graffiti in the first place, but what makes you come out and think that this is gonna look good if you put this here? Yeah, this one shows great artistic expression. It's much like a Dadaism, the genre that I more or less slept through in my art school tenure. Access, what's going on here? So the camera's glitching. Look at that, I missed that. It's like playing an old Nintendo. Hopefully that worked. If not, we'll give it a good slap on the back of the brain here. Access, don't know what that means. I swear to all things holy, this touchy shutter button will be the death of me. But aside from that, this camera is pretty fun to use. Let me talk about the specs and ergonomics while we're here. Again, it's an 8-megapixel sensor, but it does have the 4-color spectrum to work with. The lens it's using is nice because it's, number one, mechanical. Usually you don't see that on bridge cameras or point and shoots, but it's very DSLR-esque. And as you notice the grip, it swivels. And this is probably my favorite style of body, and I really wish more cameras would implement that in this day and age. It reminds me of my Canon XC10 video camcorder, which did the same thing. And honestly, if I had to choose between a tilty screen, one that flips out, or a mechanism that does this, I choose this any day because it's just so comfortable to shoot with. The lens the F828 is using is a 28 to 200mm equivalent. As you can see on the body, you even have a little sub-menu to work with. A viewfinder, which is nice. Now, one downside of this camera being over 18 years old at this point is, sure, you do have focus assist modes, but the screen is of such low resolution that you don't even know if you're in focus or not until you get back to the computer. Hey, I have an idea. Let's not go in the middle of the woods and try to burn all of our metal, because that is a very 62 IQ move. Not only a foods channel and a photography channel, but it's martial arts. It's a Kali channel. I probably got hepatitis. Fuck. All right, also, since I'm on the topic and my camera just fell in the dirt, here's a nice shirt by Brightpod. Here is a nice shirt. I can't even talk, really? Here's a nice shirt by Bright Project. I'm not sponsor affiliated, but it's just a nice shirt. It has a built-in lens wipe for people like me who have sausage fingers and just can't seem to keep their gear clean. So shout out to them. I'd really like to use this for more street photography. In fact, I tried, but it's just too slow unless you want to shoot JPEG. But even so, it is also pokey there too, because the startup time is in the double digits for seconds, so you really have to know what you're shooting beforehand. But the ergonomics would work great for that, because you can just get down low and be very discreet with your shots. So I want to give a quick shout out to Shutter Slaps, because I won this off of eBay. I think you know what this is, and I will be honored to take you up on your challenge, and I very much hope that I can make some usable images. Back to the Sony here. So the image quality surprised me, not because I thought it would take bad quality pictures, but I was under the impression, because it's a RGBE sensor, that the blues will look a lot more punchy like a foveon sensor, but that wasn't the case. The images looked very true to the scene. I credit that to its CCD sensor. And inherently you're gonna get more benefits in post-production and quality when you shoot RAW, but that's where I'm split with this camera, because sure, the quality of the images will be better, but your overall quality of performance and everything else goes way down when you switch to RAW modes. It's severely hampered in doing so. You don't get bracketing. The camera's even slower than it would be if you're just shooting JPEGs. And it's borderline unusable in that regard for any type of street photography or fast-moving subjects. A side note, I did try to do some street with this, and what the hell is she painting? That looks nothing like him. When he got up, he hugged her and said he loved it, so I guess I'm an idiot for even suggesting that that looks like a vanilla Bob Marley, but who am I to say? Anyways, so in a nutshell, sure, you're gonna get some better images RAW, but it comes at a very hefty and heavy price. In shooting RAW though, I would be careful and watch your white balance, because it could do some pretty funky things if you're not paying attention. To backpack off of this camera being very true to color without any editing, I think in the post-production room is where it shines as well. I credit that to its 4-color sensor. The files are very bendy in Lightroom, and you can do a lot to them, which is surprising for an old camera. Also, the file size usually ranges between 15 to 25 megabytes for either a RAW or a TIFF image. Even JPEGs are easily workable, at least for sub-processing and post-production. But what I'm getting at is you have a small file to work with that you can do a lot to. And I'm also sorry if this part of the audio sounds strange, because I'm laying on my back on a hardwood floor staring at the wall. Oh, and by the way, you can do some pretty cool things with this camera, like stacks and brackets. And come in handy for flower photographers, especially with the unique colors that this CCD 4-color sensor produces. Who is this camera for in today's market? Well, CCD enthusiasts, of course. Or if you're into infrared photography, this camera's notoriously easy to mod for doing that. I'm not going to mod out mine because I already have an IR camera we will talk about in the coming video. And other than that, the ergonomics of this bridge camera are great. Mechanical lens and a movable body. It feels very nice in your hands. But overall, this is a great camera, and I don't think Sony got enough credit for it. They've been making their own sensors for a very long time, including CCDs like this, but this came out at a weird transition period where DSLRs are starting to become more affordable for the consumer and prosumer markets, and bridge cameras were kind of fading into obscurity at that point. And so I don't think this camera got enough credit when it came out, but if you're a CCD enthusiast, I would suggest picking one up and trying one for yourself because they're not that expensive on today's market. So those are my thoughts. I think I'm going to compare this to a foveon sensor in the near future and do a more in-depth hands-on when doing so. Not because I think the cameras are anything alike, but just be fun to compare old cameras with weird sensors. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my Instagram, look at my website, etc., etc. I will see you next time. Thank you.